Okay, how to fix a leaking ball valve. Right, first things first, there's not just one kind of ball valve, there's loads, okay? So basically, if your ball valve doesn't look like that, go and look at one of the other videos. This is a part 1 ball valve, slightly different to others, still commonly used, but they're all different, or they're all slightly different inside, and the specifics of this one are covered here. Wow, my tripod works well. How does that go? Can you see it? Ignore that. Right, okay, so what you got to do, you've got a dripping ball valve, or a ball valve that won't turn off. First thing, obviously, you've got to shut the water off and make sure it's off. Now you'll know because you can push down the ball arm and no water will come out. So, it's easy for me because I can just move my tank around. Anyway, right, now, this part 1 type has got, well, there's a couple of types like this, but basically what it's got is it's got its main mounting here and then the ball valve itself. So you can actually take the ball valve away and leave the stub that runs through the tank in place. Okay, make your life easy. Turn the water off and then run the tap so that the water level has fallen, so that you're not fighting a ball cock that's forced right up here all the time. So drain your system and do it. If you can't drain it, you can take the pin out. So you can squeeze the little pin together and remove it, which is one way. So take the little pin out like so, and then you're not fighting the ball all the time. Hang on. You know what? I almost think it was easier without a tripod. I think I'm better working with one hand. Anyway, come on. Out it comes. Take the arm out, and then you're not fighting the force of the water pushing it up. Anyway, let's get this off. Imagine that's still in. Let's get this off. So what you're looking at doing is you want to hold this static. So you want to hold the ball valve itself static. And if you notice, it's quite good for one of these because it just sort of, this can go around the round piece like that and then wedge on the bottom bit. So what you're doing is you are unscrewing the main nut away like that. So you're unscrewing that back away from this. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this out this way to make my life simple. Now, quite a few of them have a locating pin. So there's a little chip in here that locates it back in. But here we go, here's the basics. So let me show you what's actually inside one of these. Sometimes it's brass, sometimes it's plastic like this. But what you've got is you've got a washer that seats on the back of the injector. This white one, by the way, means it's high pressure, mains. If it's red, it's for low pressure. So that sits in there, and that's what lets the water through. And that is what the rubber washer actually seals against, like that. So this is how this is working. The arm is forcing that onto that to close it, to shut it off. So you could just get a new ball valve, okay? But if you're doing that, you probably don't need to watch this. What can you do if it's been a problem? Okay, right, well, what happens to these is that this little rubber washer here, let me just get a screwdriver if I can find one. There we are. This little rubber washer here gets pitted. So as this closes up, if you imagine when it's almost closed, the water is just squeaking out the side and it cuts the rubber. So not only does it cut a groove in this, a little crack in that, but it also cuts a groove in that there. So what can you do? Well, what you can do is you get yourself a little bit of sandpaper and you smooth off that crack. Now you'll feel it with the edge of your thumbnail. You'll probably be able to see it as well, but you can feel it with the edge of your thumbnail. So what you need to do is you don't want to get that flat, because the flatter it is, the harder that's got to push to close it off. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to get a nice tapered ledge like that again, and you want to get that with you want to get that bit of sandpaper, something like that, maybe even a nail file. but you want to get it flat. So you can get it flat like that on a nail file, on a normal file, and you can chamfer the edge. And then with the actual washer, the thing to do is to take it out and turn it over. Because then on the other side, if you're lucky, you've got a perfect little surface. Okay, so putting these back together, what you need to do, see the slot in the bottom there? The slot engages with that. So what you need to do is you need to get that in there. Obviously the washer faces the back. Get that in like that and through. That sits in the slot like so. The pin goes through like so. The cap goes on. It doesn't really do much, that cap, but still, cap goes on. And then you put it back. Now, if you've got a thing full of water, you've got a real problem getting this back in because it'll be trying to force its way out. So you want to make sure your tank is empty of water. Now, that then goes back in. Washer goes on. And then keeping that as low as possible, because otherwise, if the ball is up, all it does is it just forces that out on you. You want to get it back in. Now, quite often there's a locating tag, so what you can do is you can, the problem I've got is that my nut is stuck right out. But what you can do is to get it located and then do it up from there. So what I'm doing here, now what you want to do, normally by the way you wouldn't want the whole lot spinning, so but for the purposes of this video, I didn't make one earlier, so this will have to do. Because normally if this was spinning, you'd get a leak on the intake. We'll just do this up. Now, one of the primary dangers of this is that you end up putting the ball valve in on the piss. What happens then is it doesn't close off properly. So you want to make sure that that port there is straight down, so the actual outlet port is straight down. So we'll nip that up like that. Now, ideally, what I do, but your camera's on the wrong side, go that way. So we'll nip that there. Now then, you want to make sure that's right down, sitting straight down, and you also want to make sure, take the camera off the little tripod. What you want to make sure is that this ball doesn't foul the edges. Obviously, one of the things you're doing while you're doing this is actually taking the ball off and shaking it to make sure there's no water in it. A ball full of water won't float, so obviously that's another thing that can be an issue. So check your ball's empty. Right, so what are you going to do to set the level? Well, the way you set the level on this is by bending that arm. Now it's brass, so don't bend it too much. Let it fill, let it finish filling, and it'll take a while before it actually finishes filling, and see where you're at level-wise. There's always a level line in the tank. Look, that's that one there. Overflows there. Levels there. It'll always show the level it should fill to, even on a plastic tank, which is what you'd normally find these in. So yeah, and then make sure that this can't twist, because otherwise what happens is, with a slight bit of deflection like that, this then doesn't put the right force on there, because it's rather than it just pushing that up against that, it's actually pushing sideways as well, so you really don't have the force. So directly down is one of the most important things. There we are. Valve wise, don't just horse on it like that, don't just, you know, yank on it there. What you've got to do is you've got to hold it this end, hold it the other end, and twist it, bend it in the middle with your thumbs. Of course, if you don't hold a phone in your hand at the same time, so get your thumbs on there, and then your thumbs on there, and bend to give you the bend you want. Do not just pull on it like that, because you'll snap it. There we are, guys. Cheers for now.